Roxo Media House. From the Flying T Club studios at Roxo Media House, this is Frogs Today. We recap Max Duggan's visit to New York. Plus, we'll catch up with Tre Hodges-Tomlinson, who picks up hardware of his own. And we look ahead to the 2023 recruiting class. And now here's your host, the voice of the TCU Horned Frogs, Brian Estridge.
Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Frogs Today here for this week. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. All right, we got a lot we got to get into here. We have spent the last, 4 or 5 days following Max Duggan around, folks, here at Frogs Today. We sent a crew to New York City. They were also in Baltimore to start the week as well for the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage that you've seen here from Frogs Today and FrogsToday.com. But we saved some for today, some insight into what it was like in New York City, the Big Apple, for Max Duggan. First Horned Frog there since 2000. Obviously finished number 2 in that balloting for the Heisman Trophy. Let's catch up with Max right now on the streets of New York City. As we head to Times Square, Jamie Plunkett is with him here.
So you mentioned the other day that you've left your phone on Do Not Disturb for quite a few days now. What are you expecting when you finally turn that off and see all these notifications?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to take me a while to try to respond to everybody. Yeah. You know, I might have to do it on the flight back or something like that. But, yeah, turn on Do Not Disturb. So I haven't seen really any notifications yet.
I mean, you know you're going to have a ton, right, of people just praising you, talking about your week, your year, this opportunity. What is that? What do you feel when you know that you have that level of support and encouragement from folks back home?
Yeah, there's a lot of pride. You know, I think just for a lot of people back home, people at TCU and Fort Worth, cheer for something, support something, and I think it brings everybody together, which is awesome.
So you've had a chance to hang out with the other finalists a little bit. What have you gotten to know about them that maybe you didn't know prior to this weekend?
Yeah, it's I think you just get to know them as a person. You see all the things about them as a football player and all that. But yeah, it's been cool to kind of see their experiences with college football. Whether getting into college football, things at home where they're from. Yeah. I think that's the coolest thing.
You looked a little hesitant to touch the trophy yesterday. Was that a suspicion thing, or did I misread that?
Some guys, have that where it's, you don't want to hold the trophy. I know a lot of people deal with like the Lombardi trophy, but it's like, maybe you'll get a hold of it when you win it. So.
Yeah. I know you got asked this yesterday, and I know you're a pretty humble guy. Do you like the attention that you've had on you this season?
Obviously I'm not a big attention guy, but I think it's I enjoy doing it because it just puts recognition on our school and our program. Get to tell our story about TCU and our football team, which when you have a platform, I want to use it for good. So.
And I know you're getting a workout in later today as well, because obviously the award is fun, but you still got a championship to try and go win, and you've got a strength coach here with you. What's your relationship like with him, even on a weekend like this?
Yeah, that's it's more Coach Cos down there doesn't really care about awards. He's trying to win a football game, so he made sure that just because I was up here, I was making sure I got my lift in, all my nutrition. He wasn't letting me slide, so. Just shows, how much, it really means to, our athletic program and our coaching staff.
So that was a pre-approved 1 a.m. slice of pizza then?
Yes, it was a pre-approved, trying to make sure I get my carbs in or, all my food in.
Right on. So when you think about TCU football and the basketball program, what they've gone through the last few years, obviously the baseball program, volleyball making the NCAA tournament, soccer making the NCAA tournament, it feels like TCU is just the place to be right now if you want to be a student athlete in Texas.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't want to be here. Successful on the field, court, pool, field, whatever it is. And then Fort Worth's just a great spot to be just as a student athlete. people are great, students are great, and I think Fort Worth's just an amazing spot to be right now.
So, there are some recruits on campus this weekend. Obviously, we can't say any of them by name right now with you, but if you had a pitch to make to a kid who wanted to play football in Fort Worth, what would it be?
Why would you not want to go play for the Coach of the Year? There's only one per year, and we got him in Fort Worth. And we got the the Broyles Award winner too. So that sells itself.
And a Heisman finalist, and a college football playoff appearance, right? It's a good time to be a Horned Frog.
That's right. Yeah, great time. So a lot of things going on. Good for the program. Good for our university.
All right, Max. Well, best of luck with the rest of the day.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, take care, man.
That's our own Jamie Plunkett with Max Duggan there in New York City. They were together over several days. In fact, Jamie had a chance to talk to all of the finalists for the Heisman Trophy. We'll hear from them a little bit later on. Plus, Max was there not only hopefully to pick up some hardware, but he had work to do. We'll fill you in on what that was about. And then later on here on Frogs Today, we got another Horned Frog picking up some hardware. We'll talk about that. Frogs Today continues after this time.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU, both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com. Wednesday edition of Frogs Today continues here from the Flying T Club studio. We talked about the fact earlier Jamie Plunkett was with Max Duggan all weekend long in New York City. That meant those other finalists were there as well. Caleb Williams from Southern Cal ended up winning the Heisman Trophy. Jamie caught up with Caleb, who, by the way, just happens to be a fan of Max Duggan. At least they talked about the fact that Caleb plays for Lincoln Riley. Max plays for Garrett Riley. They have a connection.
Yeah, we're all going to get a picture at some point, probably right after the ceremony. But it is really cool. We've talked about it, and we kind of know some of the plays that each other have called on game days when they're watching us or when I'm watching them. It's pretty funny. And this year, as you can tell, he's here as one of the Heisman finalists. He's had a great year. His passion, his journey, it's been unbelievable, to be honest with you. Unbelievable competitor. I'm glad to be here with him.
That's not the only connection between those Heisman Trophy finalists and the Horned Frogs. C.J. Stroud, that Ohio State quarterback, was a high school teammate of Mark Perry, the Frogs safety. He had this to say about tracking the Frogs all year long.
Yeah, that's my brother, man, for life, man. Shout out to Peak. That's what I call him. That's my guy. That's his nickname. But he's a good dude, bro. He's definitely played solid all year. I told Max earlier I watched all their games just because of Mark. I played with him in high school. I've known him since like the 7th grade. So just a brother of mine, man, and I hope many great things for him. I talked to him before and after every game. So.
And when you think about Max, you said you watched every TCU game this year. What have you seen from him, and how has he impressed you this season?
Max is a dog, bro. Like, you can see how competitive he is. He doesn't give up. He doesn't quit. He's very athletic. He can sling it as well. He can sit in the pocket and do what he needs to do, and then he can extend plays and stretch plays for longer. So, man, he's a hell of a player.
Excited about the potential of maybe matching up against Mark in the national championship?
Yeah, I think that would be dope, man. We already talked about it, but we said we're not gonna say anything crazy, but it's gonna be in our near our hometown too. So, yeah, I think that would definitely be cool.
Just 2 of the 4 finalists there who were in town with Max Duggan, who, by the way, had work to do other than just pick up hardware and talk to the media. No, Max Duggan preparing already for that college football playoff game. He had that iPad with all the film on it, catching up on Michigan. He also spent some time in the weight room. In fact, Ryan Jackson from the strength and conditioning staff, he made his way to New York as well. Jamie caught up with him.
Really just here to take care of Max and really stress reduction. So with the whole Heisman process, there's lots of interviews, there's lots of events. You're getting pushed and pulled, taken out of your routine. So I'm here to help him stay in his routine, make sure he takes his vitamins, his minerals, his supplements. He's always got a water bottle. He's staying hydrated. If we have a long period of time, I have snacks ready to make sure he's still eating and trying to maintain some semblance of a routine. Along with that, making sure he's training. We were able to use the hotel gym here and get some training sessions in because the guys back home are training as well. And he's got to stay strong and fast.
So you've worked with Coach Kaz-Kazadi at SMU and now here at TCU. We've heard a lot about him this year and the kind of the leading edge work that he does in the strength and conditioning world to get these guys prepared in different ways and unique ways and really customized ways to each individual. What can you tell us about him, his expertise, and kind of what you've learned from him over the years?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. Kaz is Kaz. I mean, he is a 1 in a million person. I am forever indebted to him for the position I'm in, working for him. But he just brings so much to the table. He has so much experience based on his upbringing, his background, playing in the NFL, some of the unique coaches that he's worked for, great coaches he's worked with. He really brings all that experience to the table and is able to impart his wisdom and experience in the athletes that he works with.
So when you think about that wisdom and that experience, what's a little piece or a nugget of wisdom that stood out to you that he's imparted on the team?
How do you see yourself? That's probably the biggest thing, and that basically means when you look at the mirror, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as an All-American? Do you see yourself as someone who's competing and working to be the best person at their position? That's what I would say.
So, Max, regardless of whether he wins tonight, it's pretty cool to be in New York. For you, though, what has this experience been like?
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Just being a fly on the wall and seeing the process of everything that goes into it. And one more thing, I got to give a shout out because I'm the only one here, but we got Kaz is back there, Kyle Bolton, Charles Simmons, and Tyrell Brown. All those guys have a huge hand in everything that we do too. So it's not just about me being here. They're here too with everything that they do for the team.
Ryan Jackson, part of Kaz-Kazadi's staff there. The strength and conditioning coach is doing a great job here at TCU, keeping Max in shape, getting him ready for that playoff game. And it wasn't just about Max over the weekend. There's another Frog who picked up some hardware. We'll talk about that when Frogs Today continues in a moment.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIdrinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Welcome back to End of Frogs Today. All right, the Horned Frogs now picking up hardware all over the place. Of course, Max Duggan with the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. Also has the Davey O'Brien Award. It's going to be a tough ticket in Fort Worth in February. You thought George Strait was hard at Dickey's? Wait till you have to try to pony up for this one, the Davey O'Brien Banquet coming up in February. Tre Hodges-Tomlinson also picking up some hardware. Of course, the Thorpe Award winner this year. He'll have to head to Oklahoma City for that banquet. Also, later on in that week, leading into this show, he was named part of the AP All-America team, first team. At corner was Tre Hodges-Tomlinson, and our own Jamie Plunkett, as you might imagine, reporter extraordinaire, caught up with him.
Thanks, Brian. I am sitting here in the Flying T studios with the 2022 Paycom Jim Thorpe Award winner, the AP First Team All-American, the Fort Worth Writers Association of America First Team All-American, 3-time First Team All-Big 12. Should I just keep going? Trey, list all of the awards. Trey Tomlinson in studio. Trey, thank you for taking the time today.
Always.
So tell me, this has been quite the year for you guys, 12-1 this season. You have received a lot of accolades. What does it mean to you to be the Thorpe Award winner this season?
I'm just very thankful to be a part of the, Jim Thorpe Association now, and, I feel like I have been put down in history, and I'm just very grateful for this, and I can't thank God enough for what he has done and what he is continuously doing, and man, it's just amazing to be a part of the guys that have won the Jim Thorpe, as far as Deion Sanders, and then other guys like Aeneas Williams, all those type of legends. So to be a part of some legends, man, is big.
Another Horned Frog won that recently as well. Trey Merrick, have you had a chance to catch up with him at all?
Yes, sir, man. We talk about it. Me and Trey, close, man. We talk about it all the time. Going into the season, we talked about it. Going into my junior year, we talked about it, and I finally accomplished it. So, we both, very proud of what we both have done, and we just want to continue to have success.
Now you've been through it all during your time here at TCU, the ups and the downs. What's been different though about this season compared to the previous seasons?
I would say the coaching staff, and then how the team has become, much more of a bond. Our team bonding and the chemistry is much more different and much more better. And then also, the things that the coaches have brought in that we were lacking, as far as being more disciplined and then focusing on the details. You may think that it's a small thing, but you can see the jump that we've had from the past seasons to becoming 12-0, and then man, it's just amazing how quick of a change it could be whenever you're lacking that type of stuff within the team, especially whenever you would think that the team is already good enough. So for them to come in and make that change and made an early impact on us.
TCU fans, I think, feel pretty vindicated. They knew that there was a lot of talent on the roster the last couple of years. It's been really nice, I think, to see that talent really bear out on the football field. But you talked about the new coaching staff coming in. Some new transfers came in as well, including Josh Newton, who has kind of been your partner in crime at the cornerback position all season long. What can you tell me about your relationship with Josh?
Man, we have a great relationship. We both want to see each other have success, and once I see him make a play, it excites me. He sees me make a play, it excites him. So, we kind of go back and forth of not allowing receivers to, have, success in these games and continuously battle whenever the ball comes and, at the catching point or whenever we have to make tackles for our team. So, man, I'm just very proud of what he has come in and done early on. And, as a team, we can't thank him enough. And I just pray that he continues to do what he has been doing, because he's doing a very great job.
Seems like he's been a really vocal leader for this team. Did he come in and just kind of make that impact right away?
Yeah, man. I feel like it was something that he was born with, as far as, being a spokesman, speaking out, and you can tell he's very passionate about it. He's very passionate about this sport. And yeah, man, for him to come in and be that extra voice, it has been great.
All right, let's turn our attention to a couple weeks ago, Big 12 championship, just for a second. Obviously, fell short in that game. First time all season you guys have had to deal with coming off of a loss. What was your reaction to kind of coming up short in the Big 12 championship?
Honestly, it's probably one of the most down moments I've ever had, because, I came back for that reason. And like I said in every other interview, I was back for everything. I came back for everything. I want to win everything. I want to win as a team. And for us to come up short, we did all that early on, and then come up short in the championship game, it hurt. And it still eats me up today, because I feel like I could have did much more. Just like I feel like a lot of other players feel the same way. But it hurt me personally, because, it's my senior season, and you can't get those type of games back. Mm-hmm. And, everybody can't walk away and say that they have a ring. And I wanted to be, just as much as my teammates wanted to be that team, to be able to say that. But, I'm looking at it in a better way now. We're in the college playoffs, and the national championship you know, I can't say that it will, you know, for us to win that game, it will just wash all that away because then again, you still have that, you know, y'all didn't win the Big 12 championship or y'all really better than y'all's conference or whatever it is or whoever we played. But, you know, for us to be able to win that national championship, I feel like it will, you know, hold a big place in my heart, even though we didn't have success in the Big 12 championship.
You know, I think it's you guys have an opportunity that no other TCU team has had in the playoff era, right? I mean, 2014 got left out. 2017 had a couple losses. They weren't able to play. The Rose Bowl team didn't get a chance to play for the national championship. What does it mean to you to be able to represent TCU in a way that other teams just haven't had the chance to?
Man, the biggest thing is just, man, I just want to live life off making history. And for us to be able to make history like we have a chance to this season, you know, it would be big. You know, we'll be the first team in TCU history to be able to do it. Yeah. And I feel like that's what it's all about. You want to do things in life, it's all about, you know, engraving your name and whatever you were, you know, put on this earth to do. And I feel like we have a chance to do so. Just like you said, we could be one of the first teams to play in the national championship. And man, I don't want to just play in the national championship. I'm here to win.
You know, walk me through what that 18 or so hours was like coming off of the Big 12 championship game and then finding out that you still made it into the college football playoff.
I feel like that whole night, I kind of was down. Like, I could barely sleep. I didn't know how to think of it. I wish that it was a dream, you know, because, like, man, I just know how great of a team we had. And for us to come up short by this much, man, is heartbreaking. But when it happened, like, once I seen the field goal, man, I was looking. I'm like, bro, this really, like, did we really just lose? Like, It felt unreal. But, you know, going on to the next day, I didn't really start feeling better until I got back around my teammates. And we were sitting down watching the selection. And once they selected us, I mean, I could feel like a different type of energy go back through me. And now I have, you know, a chance to, you know, have success in these next coming games. And, you know, as a team, I think that we will have success in these next two games.
You know, I had a chance to talk to Max while he was up in New York this weekend for the Heisman presentation. He said for him, losing to Kansas State made him want to get right back out onto the field and start practicing again. Was that the same way for you?
Oh, yeah, man. I was sitting in the locker room, and I was like, if we could just tie our cleats back up one more quarter and play them a full quarter, like I really feel like we would dominate them. Like, honestly, like, real life dominate them, because we had a lot of errors going on in that game. And, you know, that's very minimal for our team. You know, they say that we're the best second half team, but, you know, we always play good games, you know, and no one ever just dominates us. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if we had just another chance to play them, like, we would dominate them, man. But yeah, man, I just wanted one more chance, but, you know, it's gone, so now I have to move on.
Well, you move on to a really good opponent in Michigan coming up in the Fiesta Bowl here on New Year's Eve. Tell me what you know about the Wolverines so far.
I know that they've always been a run-heavy team. They've always had a solid defense, and, you know, they're good at what they do. They have a great head coach. You know, he's been around. And but yeah, man, they have an undefeated team right now. But yeah, we're coming after them.
You feel confident going into that game?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm just ready to play them. We can play tomorrow.
So what's that been like after having 11 straight games of playing football because you had such an early bye week to going with 3 weeks of no game to play?
Man, it was just the main focus was to, you know, recover. And Coach Kaz and his guys, they did a very great job with that as far as providing us with nutrition, getting us rest, and then also not overworking us. You know, we were able to bounce back even though we went on a whole streak without, you know, having any time for rest. And we had all our 11 men out at every game, so our starters, and, you know, we just thank God for it.
So, looking past the game against Michigan, potential opportunity to play in LA for the national championship. After this season, though, what's next for Trey Tomlinson?
We'll see, man. We'll see.
All right. Well, best of luck against Michigan. Best of luck for finals week this week, man. That's Trey Tomlinson, 2022 Jim Thorpe Award winner. Thanks so much for stopping by the studio today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Brian, back to you.
All right, the hardware pickup there for the Horned Frogs with Tre Hodges-Tomlinson, of course, Max Duggan. We're going to flip the page now to what the future looks like for TCU. And, of course, that's a focus on recruiting. Coming up on the 21st of December is that early signing day for football. Recruits already starting to show up in town here for TCU. A lot of interest out of that transfer portal. We have two recruiting gurus who track this daily. Of course, we're talking about Coach David Beaudin and our own Melissa Triebwasser. They're on top of things. They join us right now with a little recruiting breakdown. Guys, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Melissa Triebwasser here, sitting down with Coach David Beaudin from not sitting down together, but a little bit of a Zoom connection here, but figured it was worth jumping on to be able to talk a little bit of recruiting. We are just a week away from the December signing period, Coach, and it seems like TCU's been able to capitalize on some of their positive momentum from making the college football playoff with some of their top targets. Let's run through just a couple of the big names that TCU fans should be keeping an eye on and a couple of guys that have already committed that we should be excited about coming forward.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's an exciting time for TCU in recruiting. It's really kind of in line with all of the momentum they've had, right, Melissa? It's just been, one good thing after another since Coach Dykes and his staff has arrived, and it feels like they're just playing every right note, and recruiting is no exception. So when you look at that, we've got this past weekend they had two different recruiting weekends. Really, the first 2 days were for guys that most of them were already committed, but for guys out of the prep level, and then they had a day or 2 days for more transfers, with one exception, Max Carroll being the guy out of Briarcrest in Memphis, Tennessee, who's just a stud athlete. They're going to play him at linebacker. He's going to fit in great in Joe Gillespie's defense. He's a guy that's been committed, and had offers all over the place. But, if you look at it's guys that are also trying to bring home. So, whether it's Tommy Brockemeyer, who went to All Saints Episcopal right down the road from TCU, or JoJo Earl, who's coming from Alabama. Both those guys coming from Alabama, but he's a guy that was at Aledo High School, who's going. They're heading to their next yet another state championship game here next week, and so I'm trying to bring some guys that they missed out maybe on the first time around in Fort Worth. But Sonny Dykes really did a great job at SMU doing this. Right, that was his deal out there. It was one of his big recruiting pitches was, okay, you went and tried it, you went other places, now come on home. And that's why he was able to sort of round up Dallas. Now they're able to do it in DFW at an even higher level, here at TCU.
Well, let's talk about some of those high-profile transfers. Obviously, the transfer portal is such an important part of college football now. But I think if you look at TCU, they returned so much production from the 2021 season to the 2022 season that was even with the coaching change, was able to keep some continuity, at least among the skill talent, especially. They're going to lose a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys to graduation. You've got guys that are already in their 5th or 6th year of eligibility. Guys that are just going to be ready to move on to their professional careers. I mean, you look at Quentin Johnson being projected as a top, potentially top 10 draft pick. Might have seen the last of him in purple after hopefully 2 more games. But when you talk about JoJo Earl, especially one of the most explosive players from the high school scene, was a highly valued recruit coming out of Aledo, and a guy that TCU really, really wanted that first time around and missed out on to Alabama. What does he bring, do you think, to potentially to this TCU offense, and what kind of a difference maker could he be for the Horned Frogs?
Yeah, it doesn't have the frame or the length of Quentin Johnson. He's more a guy that's is sort of a hybrid type receiver. You can move him all over the place. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. He's been known to line up in the backfield. Didn't have the production ultimately, or really the reps at his short time at Alabama, but certainly a guy that's extremely explosive. Former track guy, but he also, played other sports. You can tell that he tracks the ball really well. So he's a guy that I think, it's nice to have where you can rotate him around and create some mismatches against different DBs, whether it be a safety or if it's a corner they want to pick on. I think the one right now, in order to get kind of the almost one-for-one replacement. And by no means am I saying, it's put a lot of pressure on the guy to say to come in and do what Quentin Johnson has done here at TCU. But, Chris Marshall, that's been a name that's been talked about, a guy from Fort Bend. He's now at A&M. He's in the portal. Now, that is a guy that at least is that type of receiver, certainly an outside receiver with length, can go up and get it, was an elite prospect coming out of high school. And he's a guy that I think that, could kind of plug and play almost, or at least you hope, if you're TCU, if they can land him.
Well, and Marshall would be a great get, too. Not only was he a five-star prospect, like you mentioned, one of the most highly sought-after recruits in the country in this last cycle. He's only played one season, so he had 10 catches for 108 yards, and we'll be nice and call it dysfunctional Texas A&M offense this past season, but somebody that in a Sonny Dykes system playing with potentially a very experienced Heisman finalist returning quarterback, which we could see Max Duggan return, could really unlock his elite potential. We know one of the keys to unlocking elite potential on offense isn't just the skill guys, it's the guys in the trenches too. And TCU's offensive line is likely going to undergo some changes as well. And you mentioned this earlier, but one of the big names out there in the portal is All Saints Episcopal graduate Tommy Brockmeyer, somebody whose family has a lot of familiarity with Sonny Dykes. Do you think that they've got a shot to reel in this former five-star recruit as well?
Yeah, that's the word. His dad was an analyst during defensive analyst during his time, Coach Dykes' time at SMU. Of course, his dad was a NFL lineman, really a great offensive lineman. And then, he's got, I think, 5 boys, and they're all talented. A couple of them at Texas right now that are productive. And so, everyone sort of thought initially he was going to go to Texas, and then when you see the connection from Kyle Flood, the offensive line coach at Alabama, now at Texas, everyone sort of thought, okay, well, it's just going to be the natural progression. But I don't know what went on there. But Texas wasn't able to land both Brockmeyer brothers because there's twins. James is now, at least for the moment, staying at Alabama. But Alabama was able to pull those guys, and then Kyle Flood went to Texas, but I don't know if it's as easy as that. I think TCU really has a great shot to close the deal with Tommy Brockmeyer.
Oh, you mentioned Max Carroll, who's one of the biggest names of the kids that are expected to sign this week that have been committed to TCU for a long time. But he's not the only one. I think a lot of people forget about Jordan Bailey, who's the brother of current TCU running back Amani Bailey, who had some pretty big moments and limited opportunities this season. What can you tell us about Jordan and what he's going to bring to TCU this next year?
Yeah, I keep doing this, and I'm giving sort of star players, but again, this is simply from the mold, not necessarily expecting this kind of productivity at least right away. But he to me is a D Winters type, a speedster who can do some things in the return game, true slot guy. You can run the jet sweep with him. He has a really great change of direction. Fast twitch where he can get underneath and work some routes underneath, do a really great job there. And it's really neat because he's a guy that committed to TCU back in January, and so he's one of the first ones to jump in, and he's done a nice job. He's out of Denton Ryan, of course. That's where Amani played as a running back as well. But he's done a nice job in DFW, sort of being a Pied Piper and telling everybody early on how good TCU is going to be. And clearly he was right, and he's starting to see some of this kind of the fruits of his labor with some of his friends from the area starting to commit as well.
Well, you talked about guys potentially looking to commit, and I certainly want to touch on some of the names that are still out there. What are you hearing as TCU looks to close on some of these last big names? I know Mikel Harrison-Pilot has been a guy that they've been after for a long time. Jelani McDonald there's another guy. There are a couple more out there that we're hearing some really positive momentum. Anybody that could be a signing day surprise or could announce leading up to next week's December signing period?
Yeah, you mentioned Pilot. So Mikel Harrison-Pilot is a guy out of Temple, just like Quentin Johnson and Jared Wiley. Pilot's dad was a big-time player at Houston. He was a linebacker. He also coaches linebackers at Temple for his high school team. And so, a lot of people thought Houston might have been in play at one point, and I think this still holds true, but out of all the players in Texas, Pilot actually had the most offers of anybody, as many schools, of anyone in Texas. And so his recruiting has gone. It's sort of been a marathon, but he's handled it really well, really mature kid. You could tell that he's a coach's son and says all the right things. But, I got to imagine, got a chance to catch up with him leaving after his visit this past weekend. And, he had the TCU jacket on. That was always that's a good sign. He had a big winter Parker on that had the logo, and he's going to announce actually at the Army All-American game. So that's his deal. And so, but I think right now I have to say that TCU is certainly a front runner for him. You mentioned McDonald. Jelani McDonald is another guy. Well, I think, right now he's uncommitted. Everyone has said Texas for a long time for him. I still got to probably give the edge to Texas at this point, although, caught up with him as well afterwards, and he's a guy that loved it. He loved the experience, not only the coaching staff, and he talked about the culture, but really the current players and the other commits that he's really gotten close with. Warren Roberson's a guy that he's really tight with, who committed on Halloween. Frogs Today put out that Halloween video for him, a guy out of Red Oak High School. So they're really tight. He mentioned his relationship with him. But Jelani's a guy who is a tremendous athlete, long. He's going to fill out and put on some weight. We talked about, he was talking about that as well, sort of off camera, but and his plan for that. But he's a guy that played quarterback that's going to play receiver, so he's another outside receiver, I think, that could be really dangerous if TCU can get him in the boat, which they certainly have a better shot now coming off this past weekend after a great trip for Jelani.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned Mikel Harrison-Pilot, 4-star safety, 47 offers coming out of high school. It looks like it's down. TCU is going to be competing with Texas and Houston. It seems like Texas is their biggest competition as well. When you talk about competition, we've seen this for years as people that follow TCU. Once TCU offers a prospect, some of the bigger name programs will start coming calling. You mentioned that Jonathan Box is a guy who's been hearing from some schools. You want to tell us a little bit about what's going on with him and how confident TCU fans should feel going into next week?
Yeah, so he's got a really interesting story, really neat kid and fun to be around. You got to love his energy. He's a guy out of Edna Carr High School in New Orleans, and that's a premier prep program in the country. They've produced a lot of guys, and really what he was an edge in high school, but sort of undersized at that spot, playing on the line of scrimmage. And then all of a sudden he transitioned in the spring. He decided, put in some work, and really just after 2 weeks of training to play linebacker, he came to TCU's camp as a linebacker. So first time in his career he's ever done it, end of his junior year. TCU loves what they see. Coach Gillespie certainly does, and offered him as a linebacker. And you're right, Melissa, that's really what got the ball rolling for him, on a national stage. He really, at that point, I believe, didn't have any Power 5 offers, and then just started rolling. The one that was interesting, I talked to him over the summer, right after the camp, and he talked about LSU. And I said, well, what's going to happen when LSU comes calling? Because as you know, in that state, right, if LSU comes calling to a guy in New Orleans, it's really hard to turn down, especially with everyone around you. But he said it was going to be really hard and really difficult. And LSU has made their best push. Since Brian Kelly's gotten there, that staff has made Jonathan Bax a priority. But it seems to look like that TCU is holding on. And I think Jonathan really appreciates the fact that TCU, saw something in him early, and he appreciates that. And it seems at this moment he's going to stay loyal to TCU. That's a big pickup.
Well, and I think that too is one of those things where maybe if TCU is not playing for Big 12 championship, not playing for the college football playoffs, you can fall in love a little bit with the SEC and the national stage. But as we saw earlier this week, TCU was in the top 10 most watched teams in the country, despite being far and away, second smallest, but the only smallest school on campus to not have a national television deal with NBC. So, I think those are obviously big deals as you look to close strong. When we talk closing strong, when we wrap this up here, anybody that you see out there that you think TCU's got a great chance to snag late, or are you willing to put on record one surprise that you think is going to happen sometime between now and signing day next week?
Yeah, I'd keep an eye on Jamel Johnson. He's a safety out of Arlington Juan Seguin High School. He was a longtime Texas commit that he backed off and decommitted from Texas. Everyone thought he was going to Ole Miss. That was sort of the talk for a long time, as Ole Miss being the front runner for whatever reason. But here lately, once again, I think all of the guys in DFW have really kind of put the pressure on a lot of the current Frogs commits to try and get Jamel in the boat. And I think he's another one that had a phenomenal time this past weekend. He's be a guy that to keep an eye on, and certainly would be the 4-star prospect would be a tremendous addition for the Frogs.
Yeah, I mean, I think TC's obviously had such an incredible season. They've taken advantage of every opportunity, all that returning production. But as you look going forward, there's going to be a lot of really well-known faces, a lot of key guys to replace, and that starts on the recruiting trail. Frogs have recruited well despite not having great success on the field the last couple of years. It's really, really critical that they capitalize on this magical season by bringing in, hopefully a top 25 class and a group of kids that can contribute pretty early. Coach Beaudin, thanks again for your insight. Nobody does this better than you, man. We appreciate it. TCU fans, a lot to look forward to next week for National Signing Day here, the December version, as the coaches look to close strong as they're getting ready to take on Michigan here in a couple weeks. Coach, great job by you. Appreciate everything that you've done to keep us in the loop.
Thanks, Melissa. Always great catching up with you. Really enjoy it. Let's do it again soon.
Sounds good.
Well, that's going to do it for the Wednesday edition of Frogs Today. How about that, man? Great footage from New York with Max. Got to catch up with Tre Hodges-Tomlinson, get you up to date on what recruiting is happening right now. Coming up on Friday, we're going to check in on men's basketball. Tony Benford's going to be here. Also got some track updates for you. It's going to be a big show on Friday as well as we count you down to the holidays. Speaking of the holidays, if you're looking for that last-minute shopping idea, all you got to do is go to frogstoday.com, click on our shop right there, find yourself from Frogs Today swag for your friends and family. We'd love for you to have it, sporting some of that as you're walking around town. Don't forget, we want you to like, comment, subscribe, and share, obviously, all of our stuff that we do here at Frogs Today and frogstoday.com. The big news, though, is we need you to subscribe to the website and to the YouTube channel for all the latest TCU news. For our entire crew here at Frogs Today, I'm Brian Estridge. Have yourself a great night.
Frogs Today is brought to you by the Flying Tea Club, supporting TCU student athletes, and by Richard's Rainwater. Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Frogs Today is a production of Roxo Media House. Roxo Media House.